Yo everyone, Shock16 back once again for the Renegade Master and back once again for another memories video. That's right, like I said, I'm going to start doing a little short series of these memories videos in response to Dave, Boy's post, because he started off doing these memories videos, and yeah, that's what sparked these. So these are like a mini series plus response. So yeah, this one, if you haven't already guessed from reading the title, is going to be all about the Super Nintendo. That's right, my memories with the Super Nintendo. So yeah, even though that my channel would have you believe that the Sega Saturn is my favourite console of all time, it's actually not. My favourite console of all time is the Super Nintendo. Love the Super Nintendo. Love everything about it. I just think it's a game console that doesn't really age. The games on it don't really seem to age. Like the 32-bit era, it has kind of aged a bit. It's like the PlayStation 2 era as well. I love the PlayStation 2, but some of the games have aged quite a bit. Whereas you can go back to the 16-bit era, and the games still look as impressive and as beautiful as they did from the first time you played them back in the day. So yeah, the Super Nintendo, yeah, is by far, well, not by far, but by a big chunk, my favourite console of all time. So anyway, my memories of it. So my first, oh by the way, again, if you keep seeing me look over there, it's because I've got my laptop with me notes. I've been jotting notes down so I can try and put things in chronological order as they happened. Probably not in order, but yeah, I tried to jot them down as like I remember them happening. So yeah, anyway, so my first experience with the Super Nintendo was actually it's a friend building console, because I've talked about this before. I think it was in a Christmas memories video or something like that. There used to be a guy who lived around the corner from me. His name was Darren, and we did not get on at all. Don't know what it was. I didn't like him, he didn't like me, and every time we'd see each other, we'd argue and we'd fight. And I mean, we'd proper fight. And yeah, well, as young kids would fight, do you know what I mean? I don't think we ever draw blood or out like that, but you know what I mean? We would fight all the time. We don't know what it was. We just didn't like each other. And then one day, yeah, just like one rainy day, I bumped into him, and we ended up talking. Instead of fighting for once, we ended up talking and actually getting along. We found out that we was, yeah, we actually thought each other was all right after that. It was really, really, really weird the way it just happened. And he invited me around his house, into his house. Like I say, it was like a rainy day from memory. So we went into his house, and he had a Super Nintendo, and obviously I'd never been on one at the time. But the game that drew me onto it, that made me want to play on it, was he had Street Fighter 2, and of course I'd played that prior in the arcades, or I'd seen it in the arcades. I don't know if I'd played it at that point, but yeah, I really, really wanted to play on it. And so he set it up. Well, I think it was already set up really, and sorry, I've got a bit of a dry throat tonight, so I'm on the old Robinsons. So yeah, we went on his Super Nintendo, and I just thought it was brilliant. Playing Street Fighter 2 for the first time was just on the home system anyway. Like I said, I think I might have played it in the arcade first, but I'd definitely seen it. I definitely knew about the game, and that's why I wanted to play it. And yeah, I remember absolutely getting my arse kicked on it as well, because obviously it was his game, so he knew all the moves. Like he knew Ryu's and Ken's moves and Sagat's move and stuff like that. And weren't Sagat, was it? Because could you play as on the original? Could you play as the bosses? I can't remember it. I don't think you could play as Sagat, could you? You might be able to. I'm not sure if you could play as Sagat now on the original I've got it as well. I've got it. I should check it. But yeah, the World Warrior original game isn't a game that I played a lot of. It was like later versions, you know, like from Turbo onwards and stuff like that. But yeah, I can remember sticking to players such as like Chun-Li and Eonda, because you could just spam the one button, couldn't you? And you could do like the 100-hand slap whip. Do you know what I mean? Or the kick, the fast kick. I can't remember what the Chun-Li's kick's called. Not the spinning bird kick. The other one. You know which one I'm on about. It's basically the same as, you just keep pressing one button, spamming one button. So yeah, I can remember playing as them. They was like my go-to characters when I was first playing it, but just because it was easy. But yeah, I love that. I thought it was great on the Super Nintendo. I can remember playing it when I bought a Super Nintendo back with that game. I can remember thinking that game is slow as shit now. The original World Warrior one is slow as shit, that game. But yeah, back in the day, it seemed great. But the game that totally blew me away, totally blew me away, and the game that, yeah, I just thought, this is something else. And that was, he had Turtles in Time. And we were playing 2-player on that as well. And my God, I just thought that was brilliant. Because it always, because it's Turtles 4, isn't it? Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. And I was thinking, well, where's the other 3 games then? I didn't realise that they was like released on like the earlier console, like on the NES and that, weren't there? Because I just thought it was a direct sequel to the arcade game, or like it was like going to be a port of the arcade game. But in my opinion, I think it's a little bit better than that. I enjoyed Turtles in Time more than I enjoyed the Turtles arcade machine, and I love the arcade machine as well. But yeah, like I say, so it was actually through an enemy that I got into the Super Nintendo, because that's where the first place that I played it. But yeah, that enemy became a friend because of that. I always remember that. And then about a year later, 2 brothers moved in. Again, round the other corner though. So like he lived like at the top of the street and to the right, and then these 2 brothers, they lived to the top of the street and left and up a bit. And yeah, I can remember going round their house and getting really good friends with them and stuff like that, and we had like a sleepover and stuff like that. And they had a Super Nintendo too, but they had the Super Scope, and that was the first time I ever played on Super Scope. And I can remember we stayed up all night and we was playing Mole Patrol and that Tetris game. Like, I can't remember it. Again, I've got it as well, and I don't know what it's called. It's some form of Tetris as well, that you basically play with a scope. You shoot like the pieces and fit them in and stuff like that. Mole Patrol's great game. It is a great game. If you've never played Mole Patrol on the Super Scope, play it. It's a great game. It's so simple, but yeah, it's a great light gun kind of game. And I can't remember what the third one. What other game do you get on it? Do you get 6 games on the Scope, don't you? Again, I've got it. I've got it boxed. I had it in the day, I've got it boxed, and I cannot remember what the other games on the cart was. Mole Patrol, Tetris, and I can't remember what the other games are now. Yeah, I can't remember what they are. It's gone. It's gone. It might come to me later. I'll probably, if you see me just randomly shout out gaming names later, you know what I'm doing. I'm shouting out like it's come to me what the other games on the cart are. But yeah, Mole Patrol and Tetris. And now there was another guy that lived around the corner from me as well. His name was Sean, but he wasn't my friend. I've mentioned it before that there was there was a brother and sister who lived in the house directly across from me, and like the girl was the same age as me, or is the same age as me, but the lad who had the Sega Master System, where I used to go to play Sega Master System across the road, he was a couple of years younger than me, and he went to school with a guy called Sean. So he was like a friend of a friend, but he lived around the other corner. So where those people lived at the top of the street, and one left and one right, he lived at the bottom of the street, and then you would turn right and go down to the shops. I'm telling you, like, you know where I used to live, but I'm trying to map it out for you. So like here's my close, because it was a close. So if you went to the top of the street, you've got the brothers that way, you've got Darren that way, and then you've got Sean at this end of the street and down near the shops. So like I say, he was like a friend of the friend of the kid who lived across the road, really. And yeah, again, I never really talked to him or around with him. It was just like this one time I remember seeing him when I was like coming out of the shop or something like that. I started talking to him, and again he invited me in his house to play on Super Nintendo, and what we played was Super Mario Kart. Now Super Mario Kart, is it Super Mario Kart? Again, I've got it. I always forget if it's got the Super before it. It has, hasn't it? Super Mario Kart. I'm sure it's got Super before it. But yeah, the best, in my opinion as well, the best Mario Kart. The original and the best. But yeah, that's what we played on. We went in his house and we played on Mario Kart Battle Mode, and of course the Grand Prix mode as well. And yeah, that blew me away. That is the game that actually made me want that. That is the game that like set it in stone that, right, I want this console now. I'm gonna go out and get this console. Didn't know how I was gonna go out and get it, because like I was young at that age. How old would I have been? Probably about 12 or something like that at the time. So yeah, I didn't know where this money was gonna come from, where I was gonna go and just go out and buy this Super Nintendo. But I knew I wanted one, and that was the game that made me want to buy it. So yeah. And then in my last video, the Toys R Us one, if you've not checked that one out, I'll link it at the end, or I'll put like if you click the eye in the corner, I'll link it there or something. But yeah, I talked about, I eventually did get myself a Super Nintendo on my birthday, with my birthday money, 70 quid from Toys R Us. And yeah, I remember seeing Mario Kart in Toys R Us, in the Super Nintendo section, but obviously I spent all my money on the console. 70 quid, that's all I had left, and once I spent it, that was it. I was broke, so I had to get a console. Well, I didn't have to get a console, but I wanted a console that had a packing game with it. And I don't know if they ever release a Mario Kart packing bundle. Like I don't think they ever did they? But I remember seeing it, but I know they didn't have a Mario Kart bundle like packing game like version of the console when I bought mine anyway. Like I said, I don't know if one ever did even get released, but I never saw one. So the game that caught my eye, like another game that I knew that had come out, I'd seen it in magazines and stuff like that I wanted to play, was Starwing. That's Star Fox for you guys in other territories, but yeah, Starwing. So I bought the Starwing pack, like I say, 70 quid, Toys R Us, Starwing pack, and Starwing was the only game I had until Christmas, probably till Christmas. Let me just check my notes. I don't think I jotted any other games down till Christmas, so yeah. Oh yeah, I did, yeah, right, yeah. So back to Mario Kart, right, so before Christmas, I had Starwing. So my birthday's in October, so Christmas, so that gives me like two months, don't it? So in that 2 months, I did actually go out and buy Mario Kart. I do remember this now, that I saved up my pocket money for it, and it ended up being cheaper than it actually was. It was on offer. I went into Virgin Megastore and it was actually on offer. I think it was meant to be 40 or 45 quid, and it was either 30 or 35 quid. So yeah, I ended up coming home with change. So yeah, I remember saving up my pocket money for that. So I actually did get Mario Kart before Christmas, right? And then, after I bought that, obviously Christmas time, so I knew I wanted some games for Christmas. Of course, Turtles in Time was on my list, because I remember it from playing it at Darren's house, and it blew me away, and I know I definitely wanted that. But then this advert came on TV.
My friends at Nintendo have placed 4 Super Mario games on the same cart for less than 50 of your pounds. Super Mario Bros. 1 is pretty tricky. Super Mario Bros. 2 is a little more advanced. Super Mario Bros. 3 is... But Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels is so difficult, it could actually unhinge the balance of your mind.
Aren't you that talentless celebrity women find repellent?
See what I mean? It's completely Tonto.
Mario All-Star is an infuriating, manipulative contender.
So yeah, Rick Mail in the advertising Nintendo products. He did quite a few for the Super Nintendo. He did the Mario All-Stars one, which is like I say, the one I remember the most. And I think he did one for Zelda, and what was the other one? Oh, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, that was the other one. I can remember him doing ones for Game Boy as well, but I can't remember if they was before or after the Super Nintendo advert, like the adverts that he did for them. But yeah, Rick Mail was the face of Nintendo in the UK for adverts for a little while. And yeah, when the Mario All-Stars one came on, I always remember with that one where he's dressed in like a black suit. He looks like a villain out of a film or something. I don't know why they dressed him up like that. I don't know, probably just to do with the theme of the advert or something. But yeah, he looks like some kind of bad guy out of a movie or something, and he's going to like the different rooms and like he's showing you the different levels, and it says, I always remember the last one, it said something about the lost levels is so hard it can actually drive a person insane or something like that. So yeah, I thought, and I love Mario games because I played them like on the Game Boy and on like other systems as well. I mean, I played the original Mario Brothers on the Atari 2600. So yeah, I love Mario. So that's the two games that I asked for, and they were the two games I ended up getting for Christmas as well. So I actually did get Turtles in Time, and I got Mario All-Stars. So awesome. So yeah, that probably did me game-wise till about summertime or something like that. And yeah, I don't know how schools work in other countries, but in the UK, during the summer, the kids get you get 6 weeks off for summer in summertime. So yeah, I don't know what they call it. Do you call that? I don't know. Do you call it spring break or something? Is that what spring break is in the US? I don't know if it's the same thing or not. But yeah, school kids over here anyway. Every summer you get 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks. I think sometimes you used to get 7. Like if some years for some reason I think you used to get 7. I'm not sure. But yeah, you always used to get at least 6 weeks for summer, like I said. Now, during these summer holidays and stuff like that, I wouldn't often be sat inside playing video games. It was like only on like the odd days or maybe at weekends or something. If you got your mates around, you play some Kart games or something, kind of like some 2-player tournaments or something. I don't know. But one game that I really love playing with, like one particular friend, a friend called Paul, we used to play a lot on his Mega Drive, was FIFA International Soccer. Loved that game. Like the original FIFA Soccer, do you know what I mean? I know FIFA gets a bad rep these days, but when that first came out, that just like it just put like football and sports games into like a whole new category, really. Yeah, I love playing FIFA, but I can remember during this particular 6 weeks, like this 6 week break off school, that I borrowed International Superstar Soccer Deluxe off this same friend, and he was saying this is better than FIFA, this is a FIFA killer, like something like that. That's what he was touting it as. He said it's better than FIFA. He said you're gonna love it, it's much better than FIFA. And I took it home, I can remember playing it and I thought it was good, but I wasn't sure whether it was a bit of a FIFA killer or not. Anyway, but like I say, during the summer holidays in the 90s, we weren't really like indoors like kids are nowadays. They're always stuck indoors, aren't we? We aren't doing shit, do you know what I mean? Playing and shit. And it was coming to like, I think it was like the final kind of like week or something of that summer holiday. And then I started playing on it like properly. And I got really into it, and man, I got addicted to that game. Like, really addicted to it. I played that game for a good year, like solid probably, and like in between other games obviously, but yeah, I love that game, and as a result of that, it's become like probably like my favourite sports game ever. In fact, when I did my top 10 sports game, again I will link it up there, press the I if you want to see that video, top 10 sports game, I think I did put it at number 1 as my favourite sports game ever. I love that game. Like, to other people that game might just be like a filler, kind of shelf filler game, whereas me, it was one of the games that I bought back. Like one of the first games I bought back when I got a system back. So yeah, let me just check my notes. Oh yeah, of course. My own Super Scope. I finally did get a Super Scope, but it wasn't actually officially mine. It was a guy from school. I can remember when we went back after the 6 weeks holidays, we got talking about the Super Nintendo. I think we might have been talking about ISS Deluxe actually. I might have been telling him, oh, you need this and stuff like that. And I can remember going around his ass and stuff like that, and he showed me the Super Scope. He said he got Super, and I asked him if I could borrow it. I said, do you mind if I borrow like your Super Scope and that? And he borrowed me like proper box set. It was boxed. I don't think he ever used it. I think it was one of those like things, like one of them fad kind of things where you want it, you play on it, you get bored of it, and it goes back in its box and you never touch it again. Which was kind of what I did with it really as well when I finally got one. So yeah, like I say, he borrowed it with me, and then I had that for ages, the Super Scope, and I can remember saying to him, oh, do you want this back now? But by the time I remembered that I still had his Super Scope, he'd moved on, he'd got rid of his Super Nintendo, and I think he'd like jumped ship to the Mega Drive at that point. So he didn't have his Super Nintendo, so he just told me to keep it. So yeah, my original Super Scope was just, it was for free. It wasn't actually mine. It became mine because he just said I could keep it. So that was awesome. That was a plus, isn't it? So yeah, then the next game that I remember, like kind of after that, getting was of course Super Mario World. I loved All Stars, but obviously I knew they was like games from, like I think like from the NES, weren't they? They was games like that. But like I loved All Stars because obviously 4 games on one cart kind of thing. And I know that they eventually did bring out an All Stars with Super Mario World on it as well. But yeah, I needed Super Mario World. Like I said, I love Mario. Love Mario games, still love Mario games as well, so yeah. But I don't have a Nintendo, like a latest Nintendo console or anything like that. I didn't buy a Wii U, or basically the last Nintendo console I bought was the Wii. So yeah, but I do love Mario games. So yeah, Super Mario World. There used to be like a little shopping arcade in Nottingham, and yeah, I don't know if it's still there no more. If somebody's watching this and you are from Nottingham, please let me know if it's still there. I think it might be, or it might be something else now. But there used to be like a little shopping arcade at the top. It used to be across the road from the MGM cinema, like that kind of way in Nottingham. So if you're from Nottingham, you know where we are, like geographically, you know where we are. It was MGM cinema there, and then it was like kind of opposite it in that direction. So yeah, and you used to go up some escalators, and there used to be like, I think it was like an independent store, or if it was a chain, I can't remember what chain it was, but I'm sure it was just an independent store, and it was upstairs in the escalator, and in the shop window you always used to have Super Mario World playing on a little CRT television in the window. You always used to have it playing. I used to think it looked excellent, that game. Yeah, I just thought it looked great. Like I say, I was into Mario, and I thought that game looked amazing, but I never actually bought it from that store. I never bought it from that indie store. I can remember getting it. That was a birthday present again, with my auntie and uncle, but this time I didn't go to Toys R Us. It weren't a Toys R Us purchase. It would have been a Meadowhall purchase, but I can't for the life of me tell you what store I got it from. It would have been Meadowhall though, because I know I definitely did not get it from Toys R Us, so it would have been like one of the years in between when I went to Meadowhall instead. So it definitely came from Meadowhall, but I can't tell you whereabouts in Meadowhall, like what store in Meadowhall I got it from. Oh yeah, and then again, something that I've talked about loads and loads of times, the only game launch I have ever been to, Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo. So, how this came about. Right, so we was, my mate, he was like, we used to buy Nintendo magazines all the time, and my mate caught on to this game that was coming out, Killer Instinct. It was touted as the next best fighter, like a Street Fighter kind of killer. It's going to be the next biggest thing in fighting games and stuff like this. And yeah, we was watching it, and like so much so, I can remember that episode of Games Master where the Games Master challenge was they had to do like an ultra combo or something like that. If I can find the clip, I'll put it in. And yeah, I can remember like reading up on it like this, and then in Nottingham we used to have Quasar, which was like Laser Quest. We had Laser Quest, which was like one end of Nottingham, and then the other end of Nottingham, like more in the centre, we used to have Quasar, and which eventually became like the Namco arcade. It became Namco arcade after that. But when it was Quasar, it was the arcade at the front, and then it was Quasar at the back. But when Quasar shut down, it just became Namco, and they kept the front part open of it. So yeah, I've got a lot of arcade memories from that Namco Quasar kind of building. But in there, they was the first one in Nottingham anyway to get a Killer Instinct machine in there, and we just thought it was something. It was something else. Killer Instinct was. It was absolutely amazing. That game was in the arcades. It was on the Super Nintendo as well. I mean, the Super Nintendo port was obviously a very dumbed down version of it, but it's still a great game. So yeah, we was so hyped when we knew it was coming out on the Super Nintendo that we actually like find out what day it was coming out. But it wasn't like a midnight launch or like that. I don't know if they ever did a midnight launch of it. Who knows? But it was a morning launch in Virgin Megastore in Nottingham. It was a morning launch, and I can remember we got up at stupid o'clock to get there before Virgin Megastore actually opened, and we got in the queue to get our copy of Killer Instinct. And I can remember, I bet they did this on purpose, but the queue ran past the Super Nintendo games, like the latest released Super Nintendo games, and on the latest release was Super Street Fighter 2, and I can remember that I wanted that game and that I was looking forward to getting that game because because I'd seen it in magazines and I knew it had like the extra characters, you know, like Fei Long and T-Hawk and everybody in it. So I was looking forward to getting it, and yeah, as we was in the queue to get our copy of Killer Instinct, we went past it and they had like Super Street Fighter on the thing, so I picked a copy of Super Street Fighter up on the same day that I got Killer Instinct too. So that was brilliant. So I had Killer Instinct and Super Street Fighter on the same day. And yeah, that's about it for Super. The last game that I remember getting from my Super Nintendo was Mortal Kombat 3 of all things. And this was, again, like I said, we had Quasar one and Laser Quest the other one. And Laser Quest, they had just a couple of arcade machines in it. And they was the first place to get Mortal Kombat 3. And I didn't even know it was out at the time. But we was in Laser Quest and there was this guy in there. I got talking to this guy in it. His name was called Marvin. And he was not an orphan, but like he didn't get on with his parents, and his parents kicked him out, and he was living in a hostel, and he had like a part-time job. He was working in a chippy. I find all this out just by talking to him and stuff like that. He was in there all the time. It was a Laser Quest like regular back in them days. Maybe again, if you're from Nottingham and you went to Laser Quest, maybe you've met Marvin, a black guy called Marvin, kind of like a skinny youth, but really friendly, and he was really good on Mortal Kombat. He like owned that machine. It was amazing on it. But yeah, talking to him, and basically that was his like kind of getaway from, because he had a bit of a shit life really. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, he didn't have no family and that, and he was living in a hostel, and basically all the money that he earned off his part-time job like thing at this chippy, he would spend it on Mortal Kombat 3, and that's why he was so good at it. But he was the one that told me. He said, "Oh, this is actually out on the Super Nintendo now." And I was like, "You what?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know it was like on a home port." And he's like, "Yeah, you can already get it." So I can remember going from Laser Quest one day, and again, Virgin Megastore, like a second home to me, that store was in the 90s, picking up a copy of Mortal Kombat 3, and again, just loving the shit out of Mortal Kombat 3. So yeah, that's it. That's basically my run. Like I said, I think that was the last game I ever bought. I mean, I did have some other games as well that I can remember buying, but I don't really have any like real connective memory to them. So I'm just gonna call them out as honourable mentions. So obviously Castlevania and Lost Vikings. Lost Vikings is probably one of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo actually, but I don't have any memories specific to getting them, so I think I got them they must have been like a Christmas present or something, because I don't remember how I got them. I can't remember going out and buying them, so they must have been presents. Zombies, again, another great game on the system, but I have no memory of how I got it. And then Zul, I can remember Zul. Was that the ninja from the Nymph Dimension or something like that? Yeah, my cousin got me into that. He loved Zul, and I can remember picking it up, like the SNES version of it, because I think he had it on the Amiga. Was it the Amiga? Something like that. And then Desert Strike and Jungle Strike, and I can remember vaguely getting these out of like a bargain bin very late. Actually, they might be the last games I actually picked up. Might not have been Mortal Kombat 3. I think Jungle Strike and Desert Strike might be the very last games that just before I jumped ship. Well, not jumped ship. Just before I upgraded and went into the 32-bit era with the Sega Saturn. Yeah, they might have been. They was in the bargain bin. I think it was like 2 for 1 offer or something like that. And I weren't really fussed about getting Desert Strike. I wanted Jungle Strike, but it was something like the other games on the offer, that 2 for 1 offer, there was either shit games or games I already had or something like that. So yeah, I remember getting Desert Strike and Jungle Strike on the same day. So yeah, they might have actually been the very last games that I got, but they was really cheap, like I said, like 2 for 1 and in a bargain bin as well. So yeah, anyway, there you go guys. This might be a long video actually, so if you've watched it all the way through, thank you for staying to the end. And yeah, let me know about your Super Nintendo memories, like when was your first like experience of it, and what are your favourite games on it and stuff like that. Just let me know your SNES memories. You can do a video response if you want to, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. See you then.